because I have only so much time. But then we're going to finish, right? And so Trinity, will you come here? So last week or maybe the week before, or 2 weeks, well, it'll be actually 3 weeks ago because I didn't speak for 2 weeks. Last week, I asked if anyone had had an experience because we talked about why this is important. Who can tell me approximately what percentage of people go into college saying they're a Christian, and as by the time they leave, they're not. They say they're not a Christian anymore. Quilana. Yep, over 70%. Josh, for candy, please. So just be ready, Josh. Maybe you should stay standing by the pillar. So yeah, that's huge. So you go away to school, and do you know over 50% of college professors, not in Christian schools, are atheists. And new atheists are generally, and not all, but they're generally taught and told to be hostile against Christianity. And that means they're supposed to mock, ridicule, and come against Christianity and Christians. So in these classes like philosophy and stuff like that, they're trying to talk you out of your beliefs. All right? And that's a lot of where it comes from. There's other ways, there's other reasons people stop identifying as Christian, but that is a big one. And so I said, was there anyone here that has gone to school and experienced that? And Trinity raised her hand. So I asked her to just kind of tell us a little bit about that. What was your experience?
Yeah, so I'm taking a philosophy class right now, and my teacher, he's definitely like atheist, and like he makes that clear. And so I remember one of the assignments we had to do was actually look at the Ten Commandments and pick out like basically what could be wrong with them. And I couldn't even like some of it, like I couldn't do it. And he actually took points off, and like my grade actually dropped. And like I feel like in class, like he's definitely like he makes you feel bad for believing it. Like he makes it seem like it's dumb or something like that. So it's like it's almost awkward for me to be sitting there because yeah, he makes it clear that like he thinks it's wrong. And but yeah.
So she said he makes you feel bad for it, like it's dumb. And he's basically, wouldn't he feel like it was a win if he talks you out of Christianity by the end of that course, probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring her up so you heard firsthand from someone who went to school, to a secular school, and has had that experience. It's real. Okay. So what we're doing, thank you so much. Josh, would you want some candy? You can share it. And you can have some for yourself too. Everyone else, and anyone who didn't get candy, will you give them, and then they can go down, sit down. Start with Derek. Um, so I wanted you all, like, I know this isn't the most fun session or series, right? It's over, it's almost over. Today is the end, right? Yay! Or boo, I don't know how you feel. Good, you enjoy it. I appreciate that. So I know it's not fun, but what this is for. Does anyone remember the 2 goals I had for this? I had 2 goals for this series. Introduce faith stronger. To defend your faith. Yeah, so I mean those are all definitely goals, but yeah, I want you to not necessarily ingest everything that I'm teaching. This is a lot of information. This is a long course normally, but to know that it exists, to have heard it at least once, all of what I have, I leave so much out, guys, but to have heard it at least once and go, when you get to that place, when you hear it, you say, I don't know the answers, but I know I've heard that there is a response to this and God is real. So you're ready. You're ready and you're strong. You may not know the answers and that's okay. But the fact that you know there is an answer, then that's what I want for you. Okay. I want you to be ready. And then the second thing is for those of you who are like studious and into this, to like create a hunger or a thirst for you so that you can go study this out later. Not everybody will do that. I know it's probably gonna be like 5%, maybe 10% of you, but that's okay. We'll have a bunch of apologists in the room and you'll be able to share with your friends, right? All right, awesome. Okay, so we're gonna keep going. Today, we're gonna cover these 4. We're gonna whip through them. I have 12 less slides than last week. Praise the Lord. That time that's just not happening, just so you know. So no one paid no one can look back at that and be like, is she almost done? She's not. I'll let you know when we're close. All right, next slide. All right, so morality. Today we're going to start with morality. All right, next slide. I'm going straight from the slides today in an effort to move quickly. Remember the 3 great arguments for a theistic God. We've gone over 6, but there are 3 really important ones, and this is one of the most important ones. We've done cosmological. Remember, that's the beginning of the universe. Teleological is the design argument, like DNA, and the universe was created to sustain life, and that had to come from a mind. Atheists say that it came from matter or from nothing. Okay, and we say that nothing has to come from something, and that's someone, and that is a mind. And then the last one is a moral argument. So we're going to do moral argument first. We'll probably focus the most on this and whip through the other 2. You can go ahead. So objective morality, right or good values that are true regardless of human opinion. That's objective morality. That means we know that it's true, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter someone's opinion. It's from a higher place, right? It's objective. Keep going. All right, so if there's no objective morality, then the Nazis could have done the right thing, right? It could have been just up to their opinion. If it's subjective, then it's a matter of opinion, right? What's better, love or rape? Okay, what's better, freedom or slavery? What's better, tolerance or intolerance? Okay. What's better? Religious crusades. Oh, no, that's not a better. Religious crusades, just so you know, is when people killed many, many people in the name of the Lord. All right. They were wrong. That was not true. And we as Christians know that's not true. And we don't agree with it. But they said they were Christians who did it. All right. Can we complain about evil? Is evil a problem? Yes. All right. So why can you say that freedom is better than slavery? You can yell it out. Why? Why? Because what? Getting hurt when working. Something a little bigger and broader. Don't want to be chained up. Yeah. Free will. Yes, ma'am. We have a voice. Because is it right or wrong? It's wrong. I know that sounds so simple. I'm looking for simple. It's wrong, not because anyone's opinion matters, because the people who had slaves, their opinion was that it wasn't wrong, right? But it's wrong. We know it's wrong because there is objective morality. That's the point. Torturing babies, right or wrong? What if we said there's no objective morality? It was a matter of opinion. What if someone really wanted to torture the baby? Right? It sounds horrible. But that's what we're talking about. If an atheist says there's no such thing as objective morality, then they could argue that Hitler was right, torturing babies is okay, murdering for no reason is okay. It's just a matter of opinion. And that's why it sounds so simple. And of course, that's, but it matters in the argument. So go on, next slide. So how do you know that? Does anyone know who this lady is? Mother Teresa, good. She was arguably one of the best people to walk the earth because, she's dedicated her whole life to helping, babies and orphans and children without parents, right? And I mean, she really sacrificed everything. And who's that on the other side? Hitler. Do you know people think Hitler was a Christian, but he wasn't. Hitler was an atheist. He used religious language and he did it to try to unify people and get people on board, but he was not a Christian. All right, next slide. There has to be a moral standard. If there's no objective morality, someone could argue Hitler was right. And someone could even argue Mother Teresa was wrong somehow. So it's not a matter of opinion. There's an objective standard. Next slide. So we're not saying atheists can't be moral. They can. Okay, they can do the right thing. We're not saying they don't know morality because they do. We all do, right? But it's a matter, why do we know? Because there's things that are just objectively right or wrong and you can't argue. There's like rules set, right? You can't torture babies. It sounds so simple to us, but the rule was set somewhere that started at the top, all right? So we are saying atheists can't justify morality. They can theorize about how we know murder is wrong, but they have no immaterial object. They have no way to say where it came from because they don't believe in the immaterial. They only believe in the material. So they can say, well, science can tell you what's right or wrong. Science can't tell you what's right or wrong. As a matter of fact, science has to use morality to do science properly. They have to be honest and have integrity and tell the truth, right? But atheism provides no immaterial objective standard that establishes why murder is wrong. An immaterial objective standard of justice requires a moral lawgiver, a theistic God. Next slide. I have a whole Charlie horse in like my ring toe on my left foot. Yeah, and just so you know, if I'm being weird, it's because I'm trying to like stretch it out. The key to the moral argument, the existence of moral realities such as goodness and justice, that's a key. And then without God, atheists have no way of accounting for the existence of the immaterial realities. These are the keys to the argument, which is immaterial reality that requires God at the top, right? And then goodness and justice, because if most atheists, not all, okay, they try to say there's no such thing. Everything is a matter of opinion, but most will say, well, that's not right. Just like, and anyone would. I'm saying anyone would say that's not right, but most will. Some who are really, really careful to stay with their system of beliefs won't say it. But how can you not say something is not? We'll use torturing babies again. How can you not say that's not right? How can you not say that's not right? Yeah, double negative, right? Okay, next slide. The origin of objective morality must be an authoritative personal being. Laws require a lawgiver, a person with authority. Next slide. I think we're going to do examples. Examples. Keep going. So, a book. You can know what a book says and deny there's an author, right? No. Does anyone have, Bible. Does anyone have a paper Bible? Does anyone have a book that's not a Bible? A paper book? Okay, we'll use the Bible. Can I see this? All right. So I know we have multiple authors, but let's say I opened up to 1 Corinthians. Does anyone know who wrote 1 Corinthians? Paul, the book of 1 Corinthians. So I can look in here and read 1 Corinthians and say, but no one wrote it. There was no author, right? Is that true? No, it doesn't make it true because I deny there's an author. So it's as simple as that. You can know moral law and deny there's an author of moral law, but there'd be no book to know unless there was an author. So there'd be no moral law unless there was an author of objective moral law. Can I get my basketball players, Joshua? You play basketball, right, Jaden? Yeah, Kalana. Okay, come on up, Kalana. Anyone who plays basketball? Yep. Come on up. Oh, yeah. Anyone else? Anyone else? Basketball players. I know there's more. I can see y'all. Like, I see you over there. All right. Yeah. All right. That's good. So all the people who are standing, you can come on up. Yeah, come on. You're not going to, like, play basketball right now. You can hold the ball. All right. This is simple. I'm not going to have you play basketball. If you want to show us a couple things, some handles? No? Who wants to show us, like, just 10 seconds of handles? Come on. Josh, please. You won't. Josh's handles are so good. Yeah, okay. Come on, right here. Just show us. This is not part of the message. Just show me. Just show us a little something. There we go. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's good. Everyone give him a hand. Yeah. He's the only one who would do it. You could take some candy too. Take two candies. All right. So next slide. Basketball, right? There's multiple things that go into the rules of basketball. Question. Well, let's just go ahead. Moral standard. So there's rules that transcend the player's opinion. Does anyone here have an opinion about some basketball rules that you think are like, that's not fair. That's an unnecessary rule? Travel. Someone said traveling. I actually have some opinions about traveling. So if y'all don't have something. Huh?
I guess when, let's say, if somebody were to, it's at one point, take it back to the.
Okay, so if you taking the ball back to the 3-point line when you miss a shot, is that what you're saying? Okay, levels. He doesn't think that's necessary. His opinion is that's a silly rule or unnecessary rule. Does someone else have something?
Double dribble.
Especially girls. I know that maybe I shouldn't say that, but like, I mean, do you see how big my hands are? Is it fair if I just one time? Come on, man. I know that's not everybody. Any other rules that they think are unnecessary? Yes, sir. Dribble the ball. Any other like you have to dribble all the time.
Technical fouls based off emotion.
Technical fouls based off emotion. I think emotion's okay, but it depends what comes out of your mouth. I think when you're emotional. Right, and words. Okay, so my opinion is when you're on the floor and you have the ball and you roll over, I don't think it's fair that that's a travel. Like you just went like this. Like you have to get up. Like you get a travel for just getting up, basically. Or there's another one that I don't like. Oh, when you go like this, can I do it? I'm so good at basketball, guys. When you're like this, and then you can't, what can't you do? You can't dribble? Or no, you can't pass? What do you have to do? You have to do something. You have to pass it after that. So like, what if there's nobody there? And then you're like stuck for a while. And I get, gotta call timeout. Who said that? Nigel, his coach. But to me, that's not quite fair, right? But does my opinion matter? Do these players' opinions matter about the rules? No, there is a moral standard that transcends their opinion. There's an authoritative person that transcends the game, meaning the players in the game, to communicate and enforce the rules. Who's one of the authoritative people? The ref, yes. And then the purpose or objective of the game. That also transcends your opinion. I think probably most basketball players will agree they like the purpose of the game, right? You know, you win because you get the most points and you played well, whatever. But it doesn't matter what you think. The rules are the rules, and the game is set how it's set, and there's someone else deciding what the rules are, right? Does anyone else want to show us handles before you sit down? Come on, Josh. He's really not gonna. Like, the Josh does not budge. So, oh, are you gonna? Okay, later, afterward, he'll play basketball over here. You'll see it. Make sure you take a look, because his handles are kind of crazy. All right, you guys can, you want to, if everyone wants to get one piece of candy, you can, and then sit down, if you want. All right. So we get it. Does that help a little bit? Like, the game is the game. Life is life. And our opinions don't matter if there's a moral standard. There has to be a mind at the top creating the standard. There has to be a mind. And it's immaterial. It's not material. It's not made of something you can touch, see, feel, even atom cells. It's made of immaterial, things you can't see. And that we believe that's God. Just as the rules of basketball require as their source a person external to the game. God is external. He's immaterial. He's timeless. He's spaceless. He's immaterial. I said immaterial, didn't I? You get it. All powerful, all knowing. There's actually like an 11-point description of the God that we believe is real. And I'm going down the list of like 6 of them, but that's what we're talking about. Next slide. All right. Another example is atheists. No, this is just the tied up. Atheists can know objective morality and still deny God. They can know there's a book and read the book, but deny the writer, deny the author. They can know the rules of the game, but deny that there's an authoritative person at the top. But there would be no objective morality to know unless God exists. Next slide. And this is really, it sounds so simple to us because we believe so much in morality and objective morality, but you would be surprised at what a deep and important conversation this is in the world of atheism and in debating in atheists, because they will try to deny it. But it's so hard to deny objective morality when you get down to like the deepest philosophy of it. God's nature is a standard of good. Without him, objective moral obligations do not exist. Next slide. Oh, sorry. No, don't go next slide. Luke 18. A ruler questioned him saying, "Good teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life?" Someone's asking Jesus this. And Jesus said to him, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except God alone." So God is the standard of good. Next slide. Does God exist? The answer is, with the moral argument, the answer is yes. Here's the moral argument in its like the algorithm in its most simple form. Every law has a lawgiver. There is an objective moral law. Therefore, there is an objective moral lawgiver. We don't even have to call it the God of the Bible, just calling it God. Remember, we're only at this point in a conversation, you're only proving God exists, not Christianity yet. That's the New Testament argument. The New Testament argument proves Christianity. All the rest of it, no, the first 2 questions prove God. All right? Next slide. We're done with morality. Yay. That didn't take that long. Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it, Quinn. All right, so evil. Let's move on to evil. Evil's easy because it's like a ton like morality, so we can whip through evil. Evil's obvious. Next slide. The evil argument. And Henry, you can actually be a little bit ahead of me since I'm not using notes, so I won't say it before the slide. So you can just kind of, once I've talked about the slide, you can move forward. The evil argument, the central thesis is that logic shows that if evil is real, don't move yet. If evil is real, atheism is false. Say it. If evil is real, atheism is false. Very easy. Next slide. If God exists, why does evil exist? And then this is what questions, for an atheist question. Is he not powerful enough to stop it? Or is he powerful enough, but he really doesn't love us enough to stop it? As Christians, we do have a responsibility to answer these questions well. All right, next slide. So remember the different religions? Someone tell me about pantheism. You can just yell at some stuff. Multiple gods. Is that what you said? Like polytheism? Idols. Yeah, they believe everything. Some of them, like Hinduism, believes that everything is kind of God too. So they'll create, you can, as a Hindu, you can actually create gods as you go, if that makes sense. And then there's Buddhism, New Age, but basically God is in everything, God is made of everything. And yeah, God is all. God is the painting. If you have a painting, that's God, right? But in theism, if you have a painting, God made the painting. Okay? And then, in atheism is no God at all. So basically, you'd have to look at the painting and say there's no painting. All right, next slide. Christianity is the only worldview that actually explains why evil exists and provides the solution. So it can explain evil, and we have a solution. God, what's the solution to evil? Good. It took a couple seconds, guys. Jesus. Yeah, Jesus. All right. So the entire Christian story is a remedy to the problem of evil. Christianity, the whole story of it. That's what it is. Christianity admits life is not heaven. Christians are promised trouble, and Jesus promised Christians trouble. Atheism and pantheism cannot explain why evil exists or provide a solution without stealing from God himself. Next slide. Why, if objective evil exists, then God must exist? So here's the evil argument. It was quick because it's easy. If there is evil, there is good. Why? Yeah, the hand motion was right. Yes, because what? Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Yep, she said if there's a standard saying something is evil, then there has to be an opposite. There has to be a standard of good to compare it to. If there is good, there is God. For something to be evil, something must be good. But for there to exist an actual objective standard of good, just like moral, right? Morality, objective standard of morality. If there to exist one external to humans, that means not just our opinion, there must be God, the supremely good being. We have a little bit more about this. This is C.S. Lewis, one of the greatest Christian writers of all time. And he said, evil requires good and good requires God. Let's say it. Say it with me. Evil requires good. Good requires God. Job. He was an atheist before he was a Christian. And he had an experience that he believed in God. But he said, as an atheist, my argument against God was that the universe seems so cruel and unjust. So he had the evil argument. His atheist argument was the evil argument. Okay? Like, if there's God, why so much evil? That's what he said. But how I had got this idea of just and unjust? A man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. What was I comparing this universe with when I called it unjust? So how do you know a line is crooked? You know it because you've seen a straight line before, right? Otherwise, if you've never seen a straight line, you wouldn't know what a crooked line is. Okay. Next slide. Next slide. How can we know evil if one does not know God? The only way to find what is good is from God. Only then can we know what evil is by comparison. Lewis realized that calling something evil assumes a standard of good against which he compared it. In order to even say it was evil, in order for the evil to exist, there has to be objective good external to our opinion, right? It's very similar to doesn't this sound a lot like the moral argument? They're very similar. There is no shadow without the sun. There's no shadow without the sun. Picture it. So if the shadow was evil, then the sun would be good. The sun causes the shadow. And evil and good are not the same. They're not two of the same opposite things. So an example is good is good. It's always going to be there, right? Evil is the absence of good. Or, a car. If you have a car and it had rust on it, the rust is the evil, right? So if you took the rust away, what would you have? Still a car, the good, right? But if you took the car away, what would you have? Nothing. There would be no rust because the rust is on the car. All right. And then another example is cancer, right? I have a good body, okay? And I don't have cancer and will not ever get cancer. But if I had a cancer, right? The cancer would be the evil, right? If you took the cancer, what would you have? Still a good body. But if you took the body away, would you have anything? No, it's gone. Okay, so we're just making sure we understand evil and good are not equal opposites. Evil is the absence of good, and the only way to know evil is to have good to compare it with. Next slide. Oh, good, thank you. So, does God exist? You know, originally this said yes and no, but he meant yes. It was like, no, really, it's this. And so I was like, that's confusing. So I just put yes and yes. So these are all the reasons we know God exists. We've gone through a lot of them: beginning of the universe, design, physics, life and content, morality, logic and reason, intelligence, personality, etc. And then evil, because it's actually the strongest argument against God that atheists have. And even Christians have a problem with it. Who here has ever had the question like, how do I explain to my friends? Or maybe it's a question in your own heart, like, why doesn't God take all the evil away? If God's real, why is there so much evil? Who has ever had even a thought like that or known? It's really common, like, to think, how do I explain evil if I believe in God? So it's hard for Christians and non-Christians alike, this argument. And this is the thing, is evil is actually an argument for God. Remember, atheists are stealing from God to make their arguments. Objective evil presupposes objective good, and objective good requires God. Shadows prove the sunshine, right? Next slide. I think we're done with evil. I put that up again, so now you could see it explained after we've explained it. 1, if there is evil, there is good. 2, if there is good, then there is God. Because there has to be an objective standard outside of human opinion, just like morality. Next slide. All right, so now we're on science. Okay, science. That's the argument that atheists have. They'll use some parts of science against God, and we say science actually proves God. Next slide. We'll go through this quickly. There's I think I taught for an hour and a half on science in the class, so there's a lot you can say. So you're just gonna have to trust me on this one. Science doesn't say anything, scientists do. So science doesn't say there's no God. Everybody say that. Science doesn't say there's no God. That's what an atheist scientist says. So you have to know that. Have you ever heard someone talk about, I don't like Christians because they did this, that, and the other, and you're like, but that's not really Christian. That's that person, right? A person does wrong. Christianity doesn't believe in these wrong things, right? So it's similar. A lot of Christians have been scared of science because they think science says God doesn't exist, and it doesn't. There are atheist scientists who have said that throughout the years. But science is a search for causes. That's what it is. 2 types of efficient causes: natural and intelligent. Natural and intelligent. Natural is material. Intelligent is immaterial. Atheism rules out intelligent causes, resulting in conclusions that are against common sense. Oh, okay. I thought that was a colon. Can we go back for a sec on that one? What happened? There it is. This right here is like enough to stop that atheism rules out the intelligent causes, and it actually causes a lot of problems for their science. So atheist scientists will, before they do science, decide there cannot be a cause that's intelligent. There cannot be a mind at work here, and then they'll do the science. Where theism says we're open to all possibilities, intelligent or natural, material or immaterial. So the science is actually better and better served by theism than atheism. Next slide. God and science are not competing explanations for the universe. Not competing. Any more than Henry Ford. Who knows who Henry Ford is? Who's Henry Ford? Yep, he began Ford, and he's invented cars, essentially. Essentially. I'm sure there's more to it. But if you opened up a car, would you see Henry Ford inside? No, you wouldn't be able to see him. But could you look at a car and say Henry Ford doesn't exist because you can't see him? No. So that's like God and even science. So God and science do not compete any more than Henry Ford and the laws of internal combustion compete to explain the car. Both are necessary. So learning more about how the natural world works, the car, right? Henry Ford, will never disprove the existence of the creator or sustainer, Henry Ford. So learning more about a car would never be able to disprove Henry Ford. Yeah? All right, so it's okay to learn more about the natural world and science. It can never disprove God. God is required to explain why nature continues to exist at all and why our minds can discover and measure the universe. He's necessary to make science itself possible. Next slide. Atheists can only do science by stealing several immaterial realities from God. One immaterial reality would be that honesty, right? They have to tell the truth about the results. It's an immaterial reality. I know it sounds like so simple, but that's what it is. Theism doesn't stop science. Atheism does. Many atheists committed to the ideology of materialism are politicizing science, harassing scientists, stifling research, hurting progress. Does anyone know what I mean by politicizing science? Mama Barbara, I'm okay with how everything's going, so it's okay. If everyone could just pay attention to me, that'd be great. We're almost done. Yes, ma'am. Okay, making science debatable. This is fact for everybody. I think closer, actual politics. So there are groups that are trying to research. I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm not going to say what I believe, but like, for example, global warming, right? If certain things are true, then certain politicians do better. And if certain things are not true, other politicians do better. And maybe they do better with their audience. And there's money to be made, okay? So politicizing literally means for politics. And so there'll be organizations that want scientists to research something. And if they start to get something that's not what they want, they'll get either fired, mocked, ridiculed, blacklisted, where they won't be able to get jobs places. Like, it's serious. So as a scientist, now I have these moral obligations to tell the truth no matter what kind of harassment I'm getting. All right? Otherwise, the people who hired me, who want a certain result, might basically ruin my career. All right, so that's what I mean by politicizing. And then they harass, stifle research, hurt progress. Progress is never served when the ideologues rule all counter evidence and admissible. So basically, if you say anything that's not what we want, or not, that shows that there's immaterial, then it's inadmissible. So they start here. We're going to start here saying we have to find a material cause, rather than starting where you say any causes is okay. Next slide. So the most important point, there was a chapter on science. Not that science supports theism, but that theism supports science. Everyone say it. Sorry, yeah, theism supports science. Thank you for being thorough. Say theism supports science. It's good to hear and to know and believe, because you could think you're not supposed to study further and study science, because it could seem like science is an atheist. What's the word I'm looking for? What did you say? Realm. Okay, thank you. But it's not, because we're just studying more about God's creation. And if you keep that in mind, God exists. Let's study his nature, right? Theism makes doing science possible. We wouldn't be able to do it reliably if atheism were true. So atheism stops science, because it basically rules out half of the types of causes. Next slide. Many modern scientific theories threaten atheism. Theism has nothing to fear from science. Christians should embrace science. It's not God versus science, it's atheism versus science. Science is more of a threat to atheism than to theism, because if you look deep enough and far enough, you're going to find a mind. The creator, the beginning. There's always a beginner. We can see evidence for God by looking at nature, the beginning of the universe, fine-tuning of the universe, biological complexity of life, genetic code. That right there is the cosmological and teleological argument. Also philosophy, final causality, intentionality, laws of logic, reason, objective morality. And right there you saw the moral argument. That's all evidence for God. Next slide. We'll just abbreviate this. Evolutionary naturalism, that's naturalism or material causes, and it's from the theory of macroevolution. It ignores immaterial realities that are necessary for anyone to do science in the first place. Science can't produce things, what we say, honesty in a test tube. It can build a bomb, but it can't tell us if it's right or wrong to use the bomb. That's morality and evil. Those are immaterial realities, and they exist. And if they exist, then atheism is basically debunked. All right, next slide. And I think we're done with science. Oh, Henry Ford. We're still on Henry Ford. So you got the idea. We talked about this. You need the agent to build the car and natural laws to hold it together. God built the car, and then he created natural laws to hold it together. And he also sustains it. He sustains the world. Next slide. We basically went over this too. Thank you. To say that a scientist can disprove the existence of God is like saying a mechanic can disprove the existence of Henry Ford. Both are inaccurate. All right, and the word says, the heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made so that people are without excuse. Next slide. All right, so lastly, the science argument shows, what does the yellow say? Everybody read the yellow or orange. Good. Atheist commitment to materialism stifles research, hurts progress, stops science by disallowing any evidence against the materialist philosophies. Theism makes it possible to do science reliably by being open to intelligent causes. Next slide. All right, last one, miracles possible. This is super, super, super simple. Next slide. You guys remember the cosmological argument? We can pass this one too. You can pass this one too. Cosmological argument showed what? Oh, do you want to take a picture of it? Okay, go back. Will you go back? I'm sorry. That one is good. You don't need the other one. It's not really. It says miracles authenticate the messenger. So the cosmological argument. Somebody tell me what's the basis? What is the final result of the cosmological argument? It shows what? The last thing. Oh, the creator. Yes. Yes, and the beginner is right. So if the beginning of the universe started with what does it start with? Not a beginner. We're going to say, what was it called? What does scientists call it? The Big Bang. And it happened from nothing. Would that be a miracle? Because it happened from nothing. There was no laws of nature. There was nothing that could replicate it. It's not normal. That would be considered a miracle. There's actually multiple criterion that qualify something as a miracle. And the Big Bang qualifies as a miracle. If the Big Bang happened, we can go on to the next slide. If the Big Bang happened, some believe in miracles, some don't, right? We have to all we're doing here is proving miracles are possible. Who here knows miracles are possible? Okay, good. Keep on. Some don't, some do. But if the Big Bang happened, next slide, then miracles are possible. That's it. It's that easy. If we can prove the creator exists, which we have with the universe's beginning, then we've subsequently proven that miracles exist. Much smaller things than beginning the universe. Walking on water, no big compared to creating the whole universe, right? Healing somebody growing back something or that kind of stuff, that's nothing compared to the beginning of the universe. So next slide. Why is it important? Why is the miracle argument important? Because if miracles are possible, because some say that these things didn't exist, that these miracles didn't happen in the Bible. But if the Big Bang happened, miracles are possible. If miracles are possible, Jesus could resurrect. If Jesus resurrected, Christianity is true. That's it. That's a period. Next slide. If God, then miracles. If we admit God, we must admit miracles. Indeed, you have no security against it. That's the bargain. I love the way he talks or writes. Next slide. Okay, so that's it. So if miracles exist, God exists, and Jesus resurrected. If Jesus resurrected, then Christianity is true. And that's it. That's the bargain. You have no security against it. Yay! Praise the Lord. When you get a chance, Henry, can you just go back to the slide that has all the way to week 4? It's all the details of what we're going to teach, all the topics, and that says week 4. All right, Danielle, Sister Danielle, would you come up? And she's going